Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news. Lewis Hamilton has revealed when he might well plan to retire from the sport, stating he certainly does not want to go out before he wins the World Championship for at least one final time. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Plenty to discuss today. Firstly, a quick update on McLaren and their intentions going forwards, because we know that it's possible that Lando Norris might go to Red Bull or elsewhere in the coming years. There's been some rumours about what's going to happen in the Red Bull camp, whether they're so happy with Sergio Perez, the fact that they've brought in Daniel Ricciardo. You know, the question has been raised, are they trying to put pressure on Perez? And also, yes, Norris's contract has still got a couple of years left, but if his car isn't any good for the next couple of seasons, he's for sure gone in like 2025, 2026, whenever his deal's up. I think it's for the new regulations. Maybe Audi as well could be an option. So look, Zach Brown isn't concerned, apparently, on the surface, stating that, yeah, no issues, we're just going to build him a winning car. Whether that will happen, I don't know, but you know, it's quite clear that Norris is saying, look guys, you know, I've got to have some decent machinery here, or you know, you're not going to keep hold of my talents for too much longer, understandably. So also stating that the Seidel exit, right, to Andrea Seidel going to join Sauber as their CEO, planning, it seems, to manage the transition from Audi Sauber or to Audi Sauber from Alfa Romeo Sauber, at which point there are rumours that Andrea Seidel will step in to the team principal role again, as he's done at McLaren, and will be doing that at Audi Sauber in a couple of years' time. So look, obviously Zach Brown's going to say, yep, he left, it was just his own decision, nothing to do with the fact that he doesn't see much future in the potential of McLaren, but it's not a good sign regardless. And even Zach Brown has mentioned the possibility to maybe switch things up in terms of the regulations, right, stating that with the cost cap as it now stands, there is, well, obviously the teams can do less in terms of their budget. So maybe, interesting idea to be honest, maybe you open up what is allowed in terms of technical regulations. You make the regulations set less strict, you allow more flexibility because the teams don't have infinite money to spend and explore every avenue. It's you know, an interesting idea, but maybe one indication that maybe McLaren aren't so happy with their confidence in the current set of regulations. And if Norris was to move on elsewhere, where would he potentially go? Of course, Audi are targeting race wins, it says, in the third year of their F1 entry. That's 2028, I suppose. And maybe for some that seems quite optimistic, which I think it probably is, right? A brand new entrant into Formula 1 wanting to achieve wins in their third season, not going to be easy to accomplish. But at the same time, Audi, across like all motorsport they're involved in, have always achieved something substantial. And, you know, it wouldn't be a massive surprise for them to replicate some of that success in Formula 1. Not going to be easy, but I think that's why many are giving Audi the benefit of the doubt here, that they're going to build an impressive car just because of their tenure in other kind of motorsports. Maybe a possibility for Norris to consider if things don't go his way at McLaren in the near future. Quick note as well on Ferrari, because we kind of have to. Another Ferrari disaster class here from back in the day. We know that Adrian Newey has been a key component of Red Bull building the dominant car they had, at least in race pace, in 2022, stating that he actually was going to potentially leave Red Bull and join Ferrari back in 2014 for the new regulations. Back then, I was pretty disillusioned with the whole thing. I nearly joined Ferrari. Although I was happy at Red Bull Racing, the only thing that made me even think about moving was the fact that we were stuck at the time with an uncompetitive engine. Ferrari, always known generally for their engines, let's say, what, 2019 in recent memory, for example, 2020 not so much, and he was planning to join Ferrari as a result. Now, Ferrari very much arguably fumbled the bag on this, because apparently, like, he was thinking about doing it. He then went on to abort the decision, though, largely because Stefano Domenicali, who is now the Formula 1 boss, but was at the time the Ferrari team principal, sent an, as they describe here, an underling, which is kind of a funny way to say it, but basically sent someone who wasn't really top brass and could actually make the decisions to meet him at the airport to discuss the contracts. Like, if you're someone the standard of Adrian Newey, you're doing what you're doing for Red Bull, and Ferrari basically don't even send their top guy, they just send some random guy to meet you at the airport to discuss the contract. It's like, yeah, no thank you. If you don't want to respect me, I'm not going to join you, right? If they took this seriously, if Stefano Domenicali himself actually turned up there, maybe it's a very different last few years if Newey was to be at Ferrari instead of Red Bull Racing. But just another one of those funny things, really, that Ferrari have messed up over the years. And even to mention this, Max Verstappen does not like many tweets on Twitter. You can see the last one he liked was this one from Kylian Mbappe after the World Cup final, but he liked this one from Fanatics Ferrari discussing this, where, you know, that first tweet when Newey talks about potentially joining Red Bull. So I wonder what this means for Verstappen. I know that some are looking at this and thinking, oh damn, that means Verstappen's going to join Ferrari, but I'm not sure so much about that one. But nonetheless, I guess just, well, something you guys might want to read into if you possibly can. Let's talk Mercedes then. I thought this is kind of remarkable as well. In a video they did on YouTube yesterday with Toto Wolff, Mike Elliott, and the head of their engine department as well, they were discussing the engine and stating that it wasn't just Hamilton's back that was getting broken back in Baku, and also Russell as well struggling out of the car, but their engines felt much the same. Gotta say, like, Mercedes engines must be pretty much indestructible, apart from what happened at Spa, because, I mean, they're getting bounced around all over the shop just like the drivers are, and that was also breaking apart their engines. Components were getting absolutely hammered into the grounds by getting literally hammered into the grounds. So, yeah, I think that was a key point for them, and of course, porpoising going forwards shouldn't be so much of an issue. The regulations are changing for 23, sorry, with slight tweaks to the ride height, such that porpoising shouldn't be so much of an issue. The teams also understand it better now anyway, and that might mean to some extent that Mercedes can run their engines at a higher level, just because they don't have to deal with managing some of the damage that was getting caused by the porpoising phenomenon. Now, we saw yesterday Lewis Hamilton said a few things in this interview, and one of the things that he did say, which I didn't discuss yesterday, was the following, talking about liking to retire as a world champion. Now, of course, every driver wants to win the world championship every single year, and therefore retire as the world champion, so maybe there's not too much to read into. But nonetheless, as he describes, to stop as a world champion, I believe, is a dream that every athlete has, and so do I. So, you know, look, he's a 7-time world champion, someone say 8, but technically by the numbers it's 7. He wants to get the 8th and break the world record of Michael Schumacher. Obviously, understandably so, and well, potentially if Mercedes can get back in business, could do it next year, could do it the year after. From 2026, like, you know, will Hamilton, when he's, you know, 40 odd, will he want to be competing as Alonso is? At that point, will his focus have changed into other things in life? The new regulations as well, when they come in, no guarantees that Mercedes get it right, because they didn't get it right in 2022. So, you know, what does Hamilton think? So really, maybe he's got another 3-year runway to win the world championship, and if he doesn't, maybe that's when he calls it a day. But honestly, who knows? Because we thought he might retire after 21. Wasn't the case. He's now looking to sign a multi-year deal to stay around for much longer. But nonetheless, as he states, he wants to stop as a world champion. I'm sure Hamilton realizes that winning, you know, 2, 3, 4 world championships in a row for himself is probably not going to be feasible anymore as it was a few years ago, because the cars are more, you know, Red Bull are more competitive now, Ferrari are more competitive now, you would imagine, and Hamilton himself isn't necessarily the prime Hamilton we saw back in 2018. So he probably realizes that in the next 3 years, let's say he competes for 3 more seasons, there might be 1 or 2 chances to win a world championship. He might win one of them, but it's unlikely he's going to win all 3 or anything like that, even though Verstappen might have a period of dominance now, just like Hamilton has done. But with the cost cap and with the Red Bull penalty, it's expected the team should be more competitive now than they were in that period of Hamilton dominance in the most recent decades. Such that what I'm basically trying to say is, if Hamilton wins again, he might feel like, well, this is my last chance to retire as a world championship winner. If he retires, if he wins the world championship next year, 23, and then thinks, well, you know what, am I going to win it again in 24 or 25? Maybe, maybe not. And if he isn't, then why not just retire now? I think many have thought this for a while. When he gets his 8th, if he does, that's going to be when he calls it a day, right? Because obviously he's, you know, getting towards the end of his career. There's other things he can do. He still wants to get the 8th title, kind of break Michael Schumacher's record, of course. But if he does achieve that, do we expect him to effectively retire on the spot? It's happened with other athletes in the past. I wouldn't be surprised at all for it to hammer to Hamilton, that he's going to keep going and plugging away until he wins one, if he does. And when he does, then he's immediately going to retire on the spot, which, you know, might be the outcome that I'm sure he would obviously like to happen. But this statement certainly indicates that he doesn't intend to go away until, you know, he tries to achieve this dream. And maybe it goes on too long and he's not quite at his best anymore and he decides, all right, you know what, 7's enough. But, you know, who knows what's going to happen in the future. So he actually mentioned a couple of things a little bit like this in a video that they just released on the Mercedes YouTube channel. I don't know why they basically bring up like fan comments and stuff, and all of them were just exactly the same. So we just said the same thing in the replies every single time. Don't really understand why they did that, to be honest. And just 2 quick things to close out the video with. Firstly, this from Williams stating that, or it's now been revealed that after Silverstone, when it was clear that they would stay 10th in the standings and their car was terrible, they just called it a day and focused on their 23 car. So whether this will pay off for them, I don't know. Of course, Haas stopped relatively early on to focus their development going forwards on their 22 car. That didn't necessarily, well, it worked at the start of the season, not as the season progressed. Maybe Williams are going to try the same thing. And some pretty interesting end of season awards here from WTF1. Race of the year between either Saudi Arabia, interestingly enough, Kota, Brazil, or Silverstone. Brazil probably had the best overall weekend of the season, but Silverstone to me was still the best race. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.